Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to dive deep into one of the most important and sometimes confusing topics in JavaScript, hoisting. You have probably heard about it, but let's break it down so you can really understand how it works and how to avoid its common mistakes. Okay, so hoisting in JavaScript is a JavaScript behavior where variable and functions declaration are moved to the top of their respective scope during the compilation phase before the code has even run at all. Okay, so this means that you can use a function or variable before it's actually defined in your code. Okay, so I would not want to go too much with the theory. So let's dive deep into the practical and see how hoisting works. Okay, so for example, I can have greet functions called before I even initialize it. Okay, you can see that automatically Coca is telling us that greet is not defined. Yes, it is not defined, but hoisting perform the magic for us. It allows us to call our function before we actually define that function. So I can just say function greet, okay, then I just console log hello world. That's it. So now you can see that we are able to call our function even before it was defined. Okay, so you can see that, like I said, so yet JavaScript did not show an error. It worked just fine, right? So this is because function declarations are hoisted to the top. So the declaration and the definition of the function are available before execution. Okay, so next I want to show you about hoisting with variables. Okay, so what we just done is hoisting with functions. Okay, so we can do hoisting with variables. Okay, so hoisting also affects variables, but with a very or a few differences depending on how you declare them. So we'll focus on the three ways to declare variables in JavaScript to try and explain hoisting. Okay, so for example, if you use something like var to declare a variable, even though it will still you understand, even though with var the declaration is hoisted, but then it will not be initialized. Okay, so I think we should go into the practical example of that. So I can console the log name, for example, and then I can come back here and just say var name equal. You can see that already we have an undefined. Okay, so we can just say add more. Okay, so you can see that with var, when you try to access the variable name before it's assigned, before it was assigned, it returns undefined but not an error. Okay, it means that that variable is not defined, which is true because normally JavaScript runs from top to bottom. So when JavaScript is coming from the top, it is not seeing the name. Okay, it's only seeing the name at the bottom or below the console.log of name. Okay, so we have undefined, but it's not an error actually, which means it works. Okay, so now let's try that same thing with let's say let's just use name1 to make it different. But before then, I just want to have another console log. Okay, let me just add another console log here, and then I'll just add one. So console log name1. Okay, so name1 is not defined. Yes, because it's true, it is not defined. So if I say let name1 to equal to, let me just say media, you can see that now we are not getting that variable. Okay, because with let and const, the declaration is hoisted, right? It is hoisted, but they are placed in a special zone, which is called the TDZ, okay, temporal dead zone. If you try to access these variables before they are initialized, JavaScript will throw a reference error. That reference error is what you are seeing here, right? So that's it. If I also try to do something like this, let me just copy this so that I can show you that const will also give us a reference error also. So I can just say name2, and then I can just say const. I'll say const, then name2 should be equal to what? Should be equal to tech. Okay. So yeah, so that's just it. They both yield the same result. I don't know why this is not coming out, but then we are not supposed to, we're not going to get the right output for this. We'll get the same error as the let, okay, because like I said, it will be in a place called the special zone, which is also called the temporal dead zone. So if you try to access it, like I said, the variables before they are initialized, JavaScript will show an error. So what is this TDZ? Okay, temporary dead zone or TDZ refers to the time between the entering of the scope and the variable initialization. Okay, so during that time, accessing the variable will show a reference error, right? So that's that about us hoisting with variable. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about hoisting best practice. Okay, so the best practices in hoisting. So now that we understand hoisting and the temporal dead zone, there are a few practices to avoid potential errors, right? So that is, we should always declare variables at the top of their scope. Okay, this help avoid any confusion around hoisting. Okay, so we can use let and const over var. So this modern declaration have clearer rules and help prevent accidental hoisting issues. Okay, so avoid accessing variable before initialization. This will prevent unexpected bugs and errors in your code. Okay, so I want to now show you the proper variable declaration for both let and const. Okay, so for proper declaration of both const and let is that you should first declare the variables before you try to access them. Now we get media. Okay, and if I do the same for this also, if I try to do the same, we should also get the real output. Okay, so that's it. That's why it's always advisable to use let and const so that you don't try to access a variable that you have not yet declared. Okay, so by following these best practices, you avoid hoisting related bugs and write cleaner and more predictable JavaScript code. Okay, so that's it. To wrap up, hoisting in JavaScript means that function and variable declaration are moved to the top of their scope during compilation phase. So with var, the declaration is hoisted, but not the value. While with less than const, the variable is in the temporary dead zone until it is initialized. If you learned something new today, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to more JavaScript tips and tricks. Drop your question below and I'll answer them in comments. Okay, see you in the next class.